In the sacred town of Lourdes, where faith and miracles dance in every whispered prayer, four friends embarked on a vacation filled with promise and laughter. Yet, when they encountered a solemn procession of Virgin Mary pilgrims, their journey took an unexpected turn, one that would forever alter the course of their lives. Before we go further, if stories like this move you, tap like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Share this with someone who needs a reminder that miracles still happen. David, Mike, Sarah, and Lisa arrived in the picturesque town of Lourdes with a shared excitement, eager to escape the demands of their bustling lives. Known for its spiritual aura and the revered sanctuary of Our Lady of Lourdes, the town seemed a perfect backdrop for their retreat. David, the meticulous planner, had curated every detail to ensure their getaway was nothing short of perfect. Mike, with his ever-present humor, was the heart of their camaraderie, quick to lighten any mood. Sarah, whose artistic eye sought beauty in every corner, maintained a skeptical view of anything beyond the tangible. Meanwhile, Lisa, the quiet observer, often found herself contemplating the deeper questions of existence, though she rarely voiced these thoughts. Their first day unfolded with exploration and laughter, setting an idyllic tone for what they believed would be a carefree escape. However, as they wandered through the town center the following day, they stumbled upon a procession unlike anything they had seen. Pilgrims moved with a solemn grace, candles in hand, singing hymns as a beautifully adorned statue of the Virgin Mary was carried aloft. The air was thick with a sacred reverence, a stark contrast to the light-heartedness the friends had been enjoying. David, concerned about their dinner reservation, suggested a shortcut to bypass the procession. Mike, unable to resist, mocked the pilgrims with a sarcastic imitation, drawing laughter from Sarah. Yet, as they wove through the narrow streets, Lisa felt an unsettling quietude settle within her, a whisper of something profound she could not yet understand. Arriving in Lourdes with anticipation, David, Mike, Sarah, and Lisa were prepared to relish a meticulously planned vacation. David, the orchestrator of their journey, had ensured every detail was in place, from their charming cottage to the quaint cafes they would explore. Mike's humor infused their time together with joy, while Sarah's skepticism and Lisa's introspective nature added a rich complexity to their dynamic. The spiritual significance of the town was lost on them, perceived merely as an enchanting backdrop for their adventure. Their first day was defined by laughter and camaraderie, but an encounter awaited, one that would challenge their beliefs and unravel the threads of their understanding. As the sun began its gentle descent, casting a golden glow over the cobblestone streets, the friends remained blissfully unaware of the profound transformation that lay ahead. The procession they had dismissed with laughter was but the beginning of a journey into the depths of faith, redemption, and the unseen threads that weave us into a tapestry of divine purpose. As the sun dipped below the horizon, its golden rays surrendered to the deepening indigo of twilight. Mike, Sarah, David, and Lisa ambled through the cobblestone streets of the town, their laughter echoing off the ancient stone walls. The air was sweet with the scent of blooming jasmine, and the sky was a canvas of fading light, hinting at the mysteries of the night to come. Their jovial conversation was abruptly interrupted by the distant sound of chanting. Turning a corner, they were met with a breathtaking sight, a procession in honor of the Virgin Mary, winding its way through the narrow streets. The scene was a tapestry of devotion, woven with the flickering glow of candles and the soft rustle of prayer books. Hundreds of pilgrims, their faces serene and eyes uplifted, followed a statue of the Madonna, her visage tender and compassionate. "Looks like we walked straight into a parade," Mike quipped, his voice tinged with amusement. "I guess our dinner plans will have to wait." Sarah raised her camera, capturing the procession in a series of rapid clicks. "This is incredible," she murmured, her skepticism momentarily forgotten in the face of such raw human devotion. David, glancing at his watch, sighed. "Come on, there's got to be a way around this. Let's try that alley over there." The group veered into a narrow passageway, its dimness a stark contrast to the vibrant procession. Mike, unable to resist, began to mimic the chanting, his voice deliberately exaggerated. "Oh, Maria, full of grace," he intoned, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Lisa, usually entertained by Mike's antics, found herself unusually quiet. There was something about the procession, the earnestness of the pilgrims, the solemnity of their prayers that stirred a sense of unease and curiosity within her. She was drawn to it, like a moth to a flame, though she could not explain why. As they navigated the alley, an elderly woman emerged from the shadows, her face lined with the wisdom of years and her eyes gleaming with kindness. She approached them with a gentle smile, holding out a small prayer card adorned with an image of the Virgin Mary. "For you," she said softly, her voice carrying the warmth of a summer breeze. "A blessing for your journey." David accepted the card with a polite, if dismissive, nod. "Thank you," he said, slipping it into his pocket without a second glance. Lisa, however, was captivated by the woman's presence. There was something in her eyes, an infinite well of love and understanding that resonated deeply within her. As their gazes locked, Lisa felt a stirring in her soul, a quiet whisper of something greater than herself. "Thank you," Lisa said, her voice barely above a whisper. The woman's smile deepened, as if she could see into Lisa's very heart. The woman nodded, her eyes never leaving Lisa's. "May the Mother of God guide you and bring you peace," she said, her words a benediction. As the woman rejoined the procession, Lisa watched her go, her mind a whirl of conflicting emotions. There was a quiet reverence in the air, a palpable sense of the divine that she could not shake off. It lingered, like the scent of incense, clinging to her thoughts and refusing to be ignored. The group continued on, their footsteps echoing in the silence of the alley. Mike, sensing Lisa's contemplative mood, fell silent, his usual banter replaced by a thoughtful quiet. "You okay?" Sarah asked, noting Lisa's introspective expression. Lisa nodded, though her heart felt heavy with questions. "I don't know," she admitted. "There was something about her, something I can't quite explain." David, ever pragmatic, shrugged. "It's just a prayer card, Lisa. Don't read too much into it." But Lisa knew it was more than that. The encounter had awakened something within her, a yearning for understanding, for connection, for a deeper truth that lay hidden beneath the surface of her everyday life. As they emerged from the alley, the procession was a distant glow, the chanting a fading murmur. Yet the impact of the encounter lingered, casting a sacred shadow over their evening. The friends eventually reached their dinner destination, the cozy restaurant bustling with life and laughter. Yet even as they settled into their seats, the conversation flowing freely once more, Lisa's thoughts remained tethered to the procession, to the elderly woman and her gentle blessing. As the night wore on, Lisa found herself drawn to the prayer card David had so casually pocketed. With a quiet resolve, she asked to see it. David, chuckling, obliged, handing it to her with a wink. "Knock yourself out." The card was simple, the image of the Virgin Mary, serene and timeless. On the back, a prayer was inscribed, a plea for guidance and protection, for grace and courage. As Lisa read the words, a sense of peace washed over her, soothing the turmoil within her heart. In that moment, she understood that the encounter was not an accident. It was a call, a gentle invitation to explore the depths of her own faith, to seek out the divine in the everyday, to embrace the unseen threads that wove her into a greater tapestry of purpose. The realization was both terrifying and exhilarating, a challenge and a promise. And as the evening drew to a close, Lisa knew that her journey was just beginning, a journey into the heart of faith, where questions would lead to understanding and every step would be guided by the light of grace. As the friends made their way back to their cottage under a sky studded with stars, Lisa walked with a newfound sense of wonder, her heart open to the mysteries that lay ahead. And in the quiet of the night, she whispered a prayer of her own, a prayer for courage, for faith, and for the strength to embrace the path that had been set before her. The next morning, a gentle mist hung over the valley as the group set out for the grotto of Massabielle. The air was crisp, carrying with it a promise of renewal and healing. Lisa walked alongside her friends, her heart still resonating with the quiet prayer she had whispered the night before. Their footsteps crunched softly on the gravel path, mingling with the distant murmur of the river. As they approached the grotto, the atmosphere seemed to shift. The air felt charged with a tangible expectancy, as if the stones themselves were holding their breath. Sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a dappled pattern of light and shadow on the ground. The site was alive with visitors, pilgrims, and seekers from all walks of life, each carrying their own hopes and burdens. David, ever the skeptic, had started the day with his usual quips and teasing remarks. But even he seemed to falter as they neared the sacred site. His laughter quieted, replaced by an uncharacteristic solemnity. They found a spot near the edge of the grotto, where the gentle trickle of water from the nearby spring provided a soothing backdrop. "I've got a prayer card here," David said, pulling it from his pocket with an awkward grin. "Figured it couldn't hurt to read it, right?" Lisa exchanged a knowing glance with Emma, who nodded encouragingly. David cleared his throat, the usual bravado absent from his voice as he began to read aloud. The words, simple yet profound, seemed to resonate with each of them in a different way. "Lord, grant us healing in body and spirit. May your light guide us through the darkness, and your love restore our hope. Amen." As the prayer concluded, a contemplative silence settled over the group. The bustling activity around them seemed to fade into the background, leaving only the whisper of the wind and the quiet gurgle of the spring. Lisa felt an inexplicable pull toward the small chapel adjacent to the grotto. She excused herself and made her way inside, the ancient wooden door creaking softly as she entered. The interior was dimly lit, the flickering candles casting a warm glow over the stone walls. She found a pew near the back and knelt, the cool wood pressing against her knees. In the stillness, Lisa allowed her thoughts to unravel. The past few days had been a whirlwind of emotions and revelations, each moment weaving into the next, forming a complex tapestry of faith and doubt, hope and fear. She closed her eyes, seeking clarity in the quiet. "Why am I here?" she whispered, the question born from the deepest recesses of her heart. In that sacred silence, she felt a gentle nudge, a call to examine her life, her choices, and the beliefs that had both grounded and challenged her. The words of the prayer echoed in her mind, reminding her of the interconnectedness of all things, the unseen threads that bound her journey to those of her friends and to the countless pilgrims who had come before her. Her thoughts turned to the stories she had heard of miraculous healings at the grotto. It was easy to dismiss them as mere legend, yet something within her resisted that skepticism. Perhaps the true miracle lay not in the physical healings, but in the transformation of the heart and the courage to embrace vulnerability, to open oneself to the divine. As she prayed, a sense of peace washed over her, a gentle assurance that she was exactly where she needed to be. Her heart swelled with gratitude, and she offered a silent prayer of thanks, not only for the journey she was on, but for the companions who walked it with her. Lost in reflection, she was startled by a soft voice beside her. "Mind if I join you?" It was Emma, her face serene in the candlelight. Lisa nodded, and Emma settled into the pew, her presence a comforting balm. "This place," Emma said softly, "it's like you can feel something different in the air." Lisa nodded, her own thoughts mirrored in Emma's words. "It's like everything here has a purpose. Even the smallest thing feels significant." Emma smiled, her gaze thoughtful. "I was thinking the same. It's like we're meant to be here, you know? To see things in a new light." They sat together in companionable silence, the weight of unspoken understanding settling between them. The chapel seemed to breathe with them, a living testament to the faith that had drawn countless souls to its hallowed walls. After a while, Lisa rose, feeling lighter, as if a burden she hadn't realized she was carrying had been lifted. Emma followed, and they stepped out into the sunlight, where their friends were waiting. David looked up, a newfound calm in his eyes. "You know," he said, his voice quiet but firm, "there's something about this place. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it makes you think." Lisa smiled, the warmth of the morning sun on her face. "Maybe that's the point," she replied. "To make us stop and really see what's important." As they made their way back down the path, Lisa felt a renewed sense of purpose. The journey was far from over, but she knew that with faith as her guide, she could face whatever lay ahead. The grotto, with its quiet miracles and whispered prayers, had left its mark on her heart, a reminder that every step of the journey was a step toward understanding, toward grace. And as they walked together under the vast expanse of sky, Lisa felt a deep sense of belonging. She was part of a story much greater than her own, a story that was still unfolding with each passing day. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the dining room in shades of amber and gold, the group gathered around the rustic wooden table. The rich aroma of rosemary and roasted vegetables filled the room, mingling with the comforting scent of freshly baked bread. Candlelight flickered softly, creating an intimate atmosphere that seemed to beckon the soul to speak. Lisa took her place at the table, flanked by her friends who had come to mean so much to her during this journey. The elderly woman, whose presence had become a gentle yet guiding force, joined them, her eyes twinkling with wisdom and kindness. As they began to eat, casual chatter filled the air, light and familiar. But beneath the surface, there was a sense of anticipation, as if the room itself was expectant, waiting for something deeper to unfold. It was Mark who first gave voice to the undercurrent. "So, Lisa," he began, his tone both curious and respectful, "you've been quiet since we left the grotto. What's on your mind?" Lisa paused, her fork hovering over her plate as she gathered her thoughts. "I guess I've been thinking about faith," she said, her voice contemplative. "How it's not just about believing in something bigger than ourselves, but about finding meaning in the everyday moments." The table fell silent, each person absorbing her words. The elderly woman nodded, her expression one of gentle encouragement. "Faith is like the air we breathe," she said softly. "Invisible yet essential." Anna, who had always been a bit of a skeptic, leaned forward, her interest piqued. "But how do you know what to believe in?" she asked. "There are so many different paths, so many stories." Lisa smiled, understanding the question's weight. "I think it's about listening," she replied. "To the world around us, to the whispers of our hearts. It's about being open to the mysteries we can't always explain." The conversation began to ripple through the group, each person reflecting on their own beliefs and doubts. As they spoke, the room seemed to glow with a sense of shared understanding, a tapestry woven from the threads of their individual journeys. "I've always thought of miracles as something grand," Daniel admitted, his voice thoughtful. "But maybe they're in the small things too. The things we often overlook." "Exactly," Lisa agreed, her eyes meeting his with a spark of connection. "Like the blessing from the elderly woman. It was simple, but it felt profound." The elderly woman chuckled softly, her laughter like a gentle breeze. "Blessings are like seeds," she said, her voice imbued with warmth. "They take root in the heart and grow, often in ways we don't expect." Mark, who had been quiet, spoke up, his voice carrying a note of vulnerability. "I guess I've always been afraid of looking too closely at my own heart," he confessed. "Afraid of what I might find." Lisa reached across the table, her hand resting on his reassuringly. "We all have shadows," she said softly. "But it's in facing them that we find light." The air around the table felt charged with a sacred energy, as if the very act of sharing their stories was a form of prayer. Each person was beginning to see that the journey they were on was not just physical, but spiritual, a pilgrimage of the soul. Anna, who had been listening intently, spoke up once more. "I've always thought of faith as something you either have or you don't," she said, her voice tinged with wonder. "But maybe it's something you grow into." The elderly woman nodded, her eyes shining with approval. "Yes, my dear," she said gently. "Faith is a journey, not a destination. It's about the questions as much as the answers." As the conversation continued, each person began to feel the stirrings of something new within them, a willingness to see the world through different eyes, to embrace the possibility of miracles, both great and small. The meal drew to a close, but the sense of connection lingered, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. The elderly woman stood, her movements graceful and assured. "Thank you for sharing this evening with me," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "May you carry the light of this moment with you, wherever your path may lead." As they rose from the table, Lisa felt a profound sense of peace. The journey was still unfolding, and she knew that there would be challenges ahead. But with faith as her guide, she was ready to face whatever came her way. Together, they stepped out into the cool night air, the stars above shining brightly, as if to remind them of the vastness of the universe and the endless possibilities that lay before them. And as they walked side by side, Lisa felt a deep sense of belonging, a reminder that she was part of a story much greater than her own, a story of faith, redemption, and grace, unfolding with each step they took. As dawn unfurled its gentle light over the horizon, the group gathered for one last morning at the sacred site of Lourdes. The air was crisp, infused with a sense of calm that seemed to permeate their very souls. The previous night's reflections lingered in their hearts, like a soft echo of a hymn sung in the chapel's quietude. David stood by the window of their modest lodging, gazing out at the awakening world. The mountains, bathed in the soft glow of early light, stood as silent sentinels, watching over the place that had become a crucible for his transformation. He had arrived with a heart heavy with questions, a spirit burdened by the need for certainty. But here, amidst the murmured prayers and flickering candles, he had found solace in the embrace of mystery. Embracing uncertainty, he mused quietly to himself. Maybe that's part of the journey of faith. His heart felt lighter, like a bird finally released from its cage. Mike, meanwhile, was packing his things with a newfound buoyancy. His jokes, once a shield to hide behind, had softened, becoming more about lifting those around him. The laughter he now sought was not one of deflection but of genuine joy. He chuckled to himself as he folded a shirt, recalling the procession they had once poked fun at. It had transformed from a curious spectacle to a moment of profound beauty, where the unity of purpose and faith had shone like a beacon. "Funny how things turn out, huh?" he said aloud, grinning as Sarah walked by. Sarah paused, a smile playing on her lips. "Yeah, funny," she replied, her tone thoughtful. The skeptic in her had been nudged, her critical edges softened by the grace she had witnessed. Lourdes had been a place of revelation, showing her that faith and reason were not always at odds. The stories of healing and hope had once seemed implausible, yet now they resonated within her. Maybe believing isn't about having all the answers, she thought, but about being open to the possibility of something greater. Lisa, watching her friends with a heart full of gratitude, felt the gentle stirrings of her own transformation. Her spirituality, once private and tentative, now blossomed with confidence. The sacredness of Lourdes had touched her deeply, reaffirming her connection to the divine. She felt a part of something eternal and boundless, her soul nourished by the sense of belonging she had discovered here. As she gathered her things, she caught sight of her reflection in the mirror, noticing the serenity in her own eyes. "I am ready," she whispered, acknowledging the path of faith that lay ahead. The group gathered their belongings and made their way to the courtyard, where the final procession was beginning. This time, they joined with reverence, each step a silent prayer of gratitude for the journey they had shared. As they walked, the familiar strains of Ave Maria filled the air, wrapping them in a melody that spoke of hope and grace. David found himself walking next to Mike, their usual banter replaced by a comfortable silence. "You know," David began, breaking the quiet, "I used to think that faith was about having everything figured out. But maybe it's more about trusting that there's a purpose, even when we can't see it." Mike nodded, his usual cheeky grin replaced by a thoughtful expression. "Yeah, I think you're right. It's like finding joy even when things are uncertain. Like those people in the procession. They walk with such faith, knowing that every step is a prayer." Sarah, who had been listening to their conversation, joined in. "It's amazing how being here has changed us. I came looking for answers, but I think I've found more in the questions themselves." Lisa smiled at her friends, her heart swelling with affection. "We've all grown in our own ways. And that growth, it's a testament to the journey we're on together. It's not just about what we believe, but how we live that belief every day." As the procession wound its way through the streets, the group found themselves surrounded by pilgrims from all corners of the world, each carrying their own hopes and burdens. The diversity of faces and voices reminded them of the universality of faith, the shared longing for connection and meaning. When the procession ended, they lingered for a moment, taking in the scene one last time. David looked at his friends, his expression earnest. "I want to thank you all for being here, for sharing this with me. I think I understand a little better now what it means to walk by faith." Mike clapped him on the shoulder, his grin broad and genuine. "And I want to thank you for putting up with my terrible jokes." Sarah laughed, the sound bright and clear. "We wouldn't have it any other way, Mike." Lisa, feeling a swell of emotion, added, "We've been blessed, not just by this place, but by each other. Let's carry this with us, wherever we go." They stood together, united by the bond forged through shared reflection and growth. Each of them carried a piece of Lourdes in their hearts, a reminder of the transformative power of faith and humility. As they prepared to leave, they knew that the journey was far from over. The road ahead would hold its own challenges and joys, but they were ready to face it, strengthened by the grace they had found here. As they walked away from the sacred ground, the cool breeze rustled through the trees, whispering promises of new beginnings. The stars from the night before still seemed to linger in the morning sky, a celestial reminder of the vastness of the universe and the endless possibilities that lay before them. And in that moment they knew that they were part of a story much greater than their own, a story of faith, redemption, and grace, unfolding with each step they took. With hearts full of hope, they set forth on their journey, the light of Lourdes guiding them into the future. As they returned to the embrace of their everyday lives, the friends found themselves carrying an indescribable warmth from their pilgrimage to Lourdes. The journey had become a source of light in their hearts, its brilliance casting away shadows of doubt and uncertainty. They gathered often, finding solace in each other's company, and shared stories of their time in that sacred place, where faith seemed to live and breathe in every stone and stream. "I still feel her hand on my shoulder," Anna confessed one evening as they sat around a table in her cozy living room, the glow of the fireplace casting a gentle light on their faces. She was referring to the elderly woman who had blessed them during the candlelight procession. "It was as if she was passing something on to us, something beyond words." James nodded, his eyes reflecting a deep contemplation that had become more frequent since their return. "It's strange, isn't it? How one moment, one touch, can change everything," he mused, his voice filled with reverence. "I think about that moment often. It was like being part of something divine." Their conversations often turned to the miracles they had witnessed, not the grand, overwhelming events one might expect, but the subtle, almost whispering moments that seemed to hold the universe's secrets within them. The way the morning sun would catch the dew on the grass, turning it into a field of diamonds, the laughter of a child that echoed the joy of creation, or the simple act of kindness from a stranger that reminded them of the interconnectedness of all life. "It's in those little things that I find the miracles now," David said, his voice thoughtful as he swirled a glass of wine. "Before Lourdes, I think I was always waiting for something big to happen, something to shake my world. But now I see it's in the quiet moments that God speaks the loudest." Their spiritual journey had not ended in Lourdes, it had merely transformed, weaving itself into the fabric of their daily lives. They raised a toast to the Virgin Mary, their glasses reflecting the divine light that had guided them. The blessings they experienced had led them to a profound understanding of faith, not as a destination, but as a journey, a path that they walked together, hand in hand. "I think we've all been given a gift," Lucy said softly, her eyes shining with the truth of her words. "The gift of seeing the world through the eyes of faith. It's changed everything." With each gathering, they found themselves delving deeper into discussions about faith and miracles. They talked of saints and angels, of heaven and earth, and the mysterious ways in which the divine manifested in their lives. They spoke of redemption, of the grace that had met them in their darkest hours, and the hope that had been rekindled in their hearts. As they shared their thoughts, their bond grew stronger, a testament to the power of shared experiences and the sacred ties of friendship. They were no longer just friends, they were companions on a spiritual journey, their paths intertwined by the grace of God. One evening, as the stars twinkled faintly through the window, Anna turned to the others with a thoughtful expression. "Do you think she's still praying for us?" she asked, referring to the elderly woman who had blessed them. James smiled, a gentle certainty in his eyes. "I like to believe she is. I feel her prayers in the peace that fills my heart, in the strength that guides me through each day." Their conversation continued late into the night, their hearts open to the mysteries of faith and the promises of miracles. They recounted the story of their journey to Lourdes, each detail etched in their memories as a sacred testament to the power of belief and the grace that had transformed their lives. As the night drew to a close, they sat in comfortable silence, the warmth of the fire matching the warmth in their hearts. There was a sense of fulfillment, a spiritual completeness that had woven itself into the tapestry of their lives. They were grateful for the journey that had brought them closer to God, to each other, and to the profound understanding of faith that now guided their every step. In the quiet moments before they parted ways, they each offered a silent prayer of gratitude, their hearts lifted in humble thanks for the unthinkable events that had reshaped their lives. The journey had not ended, it had merely begun anew, a continuous unfolding of grace and faith. And as they stepped into the night, the cool breeze whispered through the trees, carrying with it the promise of new beginnings and the assurance of God's unending love. As they walked their separate paths, they knew they were never truly apart. The light of Lourdes, the love of the Virgin Mary, and the blessings of unexpected miracles would guide them always, binding them together in a sacred story of faith, friendship, and the divine wonder of life itself. If this story touched you, write Blue Mantle in the comments so we know you were here. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay connected to stories of faith, miracles, and hope.